I think we live in a crazy-making kind of world. And the reason that I've come to that conclusion is because I've listened to so many people describe to me how it is that they cope in the environment that they meet every morning when they walk out the door. Perpetual Motion Man was all loaded up, as many business travelers are. He had his rollerboard suitcase back here. He had his briefcase clamped under this armpit. He had his overcoat thrown over this shoulder. He had his cell phone on and in conversation with his boarding pass flapping in the wind behind him. And he was on the go, moving, 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 moving. And he got to the escalator and just continued to step right on. Well, the escalator spit him back out. He didn't even miss a beat. He just stepped back on again, and of course, it spit him back out. Now, what do you know about this escalator? He's trying to go down the up escalator, of course. We can see that, any fool can see that, but Perpetual Motion Man cannot see that. And he says to the fellow on the other end of the cell phone, "Hang on a moment, I've got a situation." And then he steps back and he proceeds to give this escalator the dirtiest look I have ever seen anybody give a piece of equipment. I'd also like you to meet a lovely, lovely woman from Newfoundland who was in one of the programs that I did not too long ago. And you know, we talk about Newfoundland as the rock. Well, this lady was one large lady. And she stood up at the back of the room and she said, "I am the queen of multitasking." And who would dispute her claim? And she says, "I personally know that as the queen of multitasking, that I am overdoing it when I find myself standing in the shower in the morning and I can't remember what I've washed." Now, this is an image that's burned into my brain. You know, did I start at the top, working my way down the bottom, I'm working my way back up? I can't remember. I was at Waskesiu not too long ago, and Dave and I were walking along the lake enjoying the day, and out of nowhere comes from behind us this quick stop, march, 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 march. You can actually hear his feet crunching on the gravel, and as he comes by us, he pulls his radio, two-way radio out of his pocket, and he goes crackle, crackle, crackle. He gets someone on the other end, and he says, "I am 5 minutes from the campground. Start the barbecue." I would suggest that all of these are examples of what I would call the grand delusion. And the grand delusion, for me, is the belief that if we just work faster, longer, harder, more efficiently, that all will be well. How's that working for you so far? 2 surveys show that the average person in a workplace has a backlog of somewhere between 50 and 200 hours of uncompleted work at any given time. That's somewhere between 1 and 4 weeks' worth. And this only asked about the workplace. I would suggest these aren't crisis things, probably. We're handling those and getting at them. But you have ideas. You have markets you want to pursue, opportunities you'd like to pursue, training you'd like to get. You have things you'd like to do. And this didn't, by the way, ask about family or community stuff, so add another couple of bags on the side for that. So here's the truth. Here's the truth. You'll never be done again. So just get a feel for this. I'd like you to turn to the person beside you, look them in the eye, and say these words. Go. Aren't you glad you came today? This is such an uplifting thought. When I first looked at this, because I like to be done, I don't know about you, and I realized that probably on the bottom end of any list I've ever written was this little, almost indelible ink note that said, "Be done," "Finish." And I found such freedom actually in this insight because I can take that off my list totally. The question is not, am I done? The question is, have I done some of the things that mattered and moved the things that are important forward in my life? Sitting in the departure lounge, like many of you may do if you're flying, and I was checking around to see who else was going to be on this flight with me. And there was sort of the usual cast of characters. The most interesting characters in the lounge were 3 little girls. 3 little girls back in the corner of the lounge. Well, actually, that was home base. They didn't actually stay there for long. They were tow-headed blondies, sisters, clearly, and I would say about 7, 5, and 3. All dressed alike, like cowgirls. They had the little blue denim vest and the blue denim skirt. They had the red gingham shirt with the bolo tie. They had the little red vinyl cowboy boots with the fringe around the top. And they had the white straw Stetson hats on the long strings flying out behind them. And they were flying because these girls were like colts on a warm spring day, really. They were up on their toes and they're dancing all over the place and they're checking out this wall and that fence and what's around this corner, and they were not still for a moment. Their poor dad, who was traveling solo with them, had a devil of the time trying to ride herd on these critters. But he did. And our flight was called, and he managed to corral them in the direction of the gate. And as they pranced by me, the reason for their excitement was clear, because I overheard them to say that this was their very first airplane ride. Now, do you remember your first airplane ride? I know I remember mine. It was in a two-seater airplane with my crazy uncle off the summer fallow field on the farm. Nobody thought I was coming down alive, including me. But for the rest of us in that lounge, it was just another day, just another business trip, just another flight. Now, as flights go, it was pretty decent. We were all loaded on, we were off to the end of the runway, and we were up on our way to Cranbrook, little mountain town just over the Rockies into BC. And it was a beautiful, beautiful day for flying. And it was so smooth. It was just like this. It's like we were soaring with the eagles. Until about 20 minutes out of Cranbrook, when we went from to lift, roll, slam! Lift, roll, slam! Holy jeez. What the heck is going on here? This is unbelievable. So rough. They're praying up here. This is good. Just keep going. Oh, lady, you're getting green. Get the bag. You're going to need the bag, really. Yeah. Oh, they're holding hands over here. I'm never going to see my kids again. Prairie girl, bites the dust, Rocky Mountains. See the headlines now, we're going down. I believe how quiet it is up here, except for the slamming, of course. But it's not quiet back there. Row 21, D, E, F. Can you see them? I'm dying up here, literally having a near-death experience. And these little critters at the back, well, let me demonstrate. Lift, roll, slam, whee! Lift, roll, slam, whee! They're having the time of their life. And after a couple of minutes of this, one of them screams out to her father, who's like hanging on for dear life across the aisle like the rest of us. And she goes, "Hey, Daddy, you told us this was going to be fun, but you never said it was going to be this much fun." Well, personally, up here in 7C, I'm not having this much fun. But I am thinking differently as a result of what they're doing. And I'm thinking, how can it be that up here I'm absorbed in potential disaster, while back there they're finding the delight? It's ignorance, of course, really. in the best possible sense of that word. They didn't know any better. They didn't know how a flight was supposed to go. And I'm sure, when we got down, and I'm going, thank you, Lord, and telling the story of the flight, it's like a near-death experience, but I'm sure that their version is of the best roller coaster ride they ever had, right? Now, what they did for me that day is help me get unstuck. They helped me shift my thinking. They really reset my mindset. And what I've discovered time and time again is that it doesn't seem to matter how disastrous the circumstances, it usually has somewhere in it, if we can find it, a seed of delight, or a slightly different way of looking at things. And that's the challenge for us, is to see these things just a little bit differently. Some of you hit a red traffic light. Probably did on the way up. What was the conversation going through your mind? Why don't they synchronize these lights here? Oh yeah, that's really good, buddy. You just sit at the light here, and now you put the left turn signal on. What if you looked at this light, like many people do in New Delhi, where the red lights actually say, relax. And whether those words or letters are actually there, what if you looked at that red light or that stop sign as an invitation to do just that? To drop the shoulders, to take the hands off the wheel, to amuse yourself by looking and seeing how bent out of shape the other drivers are around you. It would change the nature of your day. If we could just shift a little more in that direction of bringing that more natural rhythm of renewal back into our work and back into our lives, we might be delighted and we might be surprised to discover that even in the midst of the chaos and the turbulence, that you and me, like the Calgary Cowgirls, just might find ourselves having this much fun. Thank you very much.